entrance for the building. We think it's a unique way for Saanich to showcase sustainability through the adaptive reuse of an existing product, and also due to the fact that we're going to be using a green roof on that building. One of the other nice features that I think this has a significant improvement for Saanich in relation to is the rain garden. Currently, the area that's being proposed for the storage lockers is where commercial vehicles park. You know, we have larger commercial vehicles, and with that we have the unfortunate issue associated with the oil and the items that come off of those vehicles. There's no current stormwater management with respect to this property. So by one, diminishing the amount of area in which vehicles can park by placing these storage containers, and two, by installing a rain garden to address the stormwater management in this location, we feel that it's a significant improvement and will help the health of Swan Lake. With respect to some of the variances in consideration, particularly the parking variance, self-storage has been proven through numerous studies to have the lowest amount of parking requirement and need of any commercial and residential use on an area basis. In fact, if you're familiar with the View Royal U-Lock on Old Island Highway, they have 4 parking stalls for that 120,000 square foot facility, one of which is handicapped. We have 70 parking stalls on the property. We also have a registered covenant and the sole right during business hours to an additional 25 parking stalls that abut the building that are actually on the property of the CAIC. And so we have substantial parking and have always had more than has been necessary for the uses since we've owned the building. I'd like to address a separate item that is outside of this, and I think you'll hear tonight from some of the residents, and has been mentioned, is issues associated with Halford. Because of the low traffic use of self-storage in comparison to other industrial uses, we actually feel that we will have less impact on Halford Street than we will if it was another industrial use being utilized on the property. And that's been presented to staff through the reports in relation to self-storage parking requirements. We have worked with the neighborhood, although unsuccessfully, to try and address as many issues as we can in relation to the issue of slag and the trucks that are being entering and exiting the property through that. One of the things that I'm hopeful that council will direct staff to do is to work with ourselves and with the neighbors to identify if in fact there is any bylaw infractions on slag. Because in that case, we may have the right as the landlord to then close that gate from Halford Street in the event that there is a bylaw infraction. But we don't have the right to do that unless we have something from Saanich that can help us demonstrate that there is an issue that needs to be addressed, and then one of the ways that could be done to address that is the closing of that gate. We do not need the access on Halford Street for our use as a self-storage business, and we will certainly be telling customers to access and egress the property off of the Quadra Street access point. The residential side yard setback that we're asking for a decrease on from 12 meters to 9 meters, currently, because of what was approved when the building was originally built, that side yard is less than 12 meters as it exists. It's approximately 4 meters. So despite the fact that we're asking for a 3-meter decrease, we're actually increasing the setback from where the commercial vehicles currently park to that property line by an additional approximately 5 meters. And we are putting in a new fence for that Bearland strata next door to block any visual impact. The storage containers themselves are 8'6", so with the existing elevation change, there won't be any visual impact to the neighbors. They won't even be able to see them. Whereas right now, they can actually see the commercial vehicles that are parked in these locations. And we're also planting 2 new trees to provide a visual greenscape for that. So we feel that, as I mentioned, through working with staff, we've come up with a strong application for your consideration. We will continue to work with city staff as well as the neighborhood to try and address any issues that we can. And one last item before I forget that I promised a resident I would mention is in relation to the parking signs on Halford Street. We've had difficulty as well as the neighborhood. There are clear, visible, no parking signs located on our side of Halford Street. It does not seem to be a deterrent. Unfortunately, the neighbors have been unable to get any traction with bylaw enforcement on doing anything there. And so one of the requests that I believe you'll hear from other people tonight and that we fully support is changing the no parking signs to no parking and tow away signs, and working to try and identify other ways in which we can identify that is not a parking zone and for people to not utilize it. But obviously we're here with the hopes that you will approve the application, and should you have any further questions, I would be pleased to answer them. If they're technical, I may have to ask the help of our project architect, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
My project architect, Jim Alders, is going to present the technical side of things, if that's all right.
Continue.
Thank you.
Good evening, James.
Good evening, Chair, members of council, mayor, and staff. We do have a bit of a visual presentation. I think it answers some of the questions that have been asked so far by council. If I can get the notes just working this one. I'm going to start with a quote. This is a quote by the director of the U.S. Green Building Council, Carl Elefant, which is, the greenest building is the one that already exists. There's been a lot of thought and development in the development of the big green building construction industry, and but by far and away the best way to create a green building is to actually reuse an existing building. Adaptive reuse is what the focus of this project has been from the beginning, and actually has been since the original Coke plant was built in the 70s. It was adapted in, I think it was the 80s, to a wholesale food store, or perhaps the 90s. The past 7 or 8 years it's been adapted again as a light industrial warehouse, and currently it's getting a new lease on life as a self-storage facility. Currently it's going through upgrades to the mechanical electrical system, and also actually getting a full second floor inserted into a portion of the building to support this use. There's 2 components to the project, as Jordan mentioned. There's the new front door, and there's also the, towards the back of the building, there's the back of the property, there's the new exterior storage containers. Just looking at the new entrance, this is actually stacked shipping containers, and again, this is an opportunity for Saanich to be exemplary. There's been a lot of design of shipping containers being used for private residences, but there never is an opportunity to actually, for the public to come up, actually see how they're utilized. So this is probably one of the few projects certainly on the island, and I'm not aware of many in BC that actually have a public project used for commercial purposes where you can actually utilize, people can come up and see how shipping containers could be used as a building material. The exterior elevation, you can see, this is a rather small scale, my apologies, but the shipping containers are, I guess, on the second elevation down, sort of central, and we have tried to tie it into the balance of the building design, where we've gone through there's an upgrade to the exterior color scheme. There's charcoal accent, as well as the corporate orange colors being utilized with the doors, and some tinted glass, which in the evening the tinted glass will actually be illuminated and glow at night. And these storage containers actually double as signage, so that we don't have to go with a separate pylon sign. And here's a rendering and close-up of the elevations. We have, as Jordan mentioned, we're incorporating a rooftop, a green roof component, and the ivy and plants will actually drape down the building. The entrance is pulled away from the existing building a few meters to allow for an existing significant Boston ivy, which is currently against the existing wall. It allows it to continue to flourish, and the green roof will sort of complement that design. Towards the back of the building, you can see the layout for the proposed exterior shipping containers. There's an image of what they look like. The landscape plan, this is a portion of Halford Street, and working with the Parks Department, we have, and the city, we've looked to clean up some of the species there. There's some invasive species which will be cleaned up, and also some Leilandi cypress hedge, which has been asked to be removed, so we'll be doing improvements along the landscape there in Halford, as well as along Quadra Street. There's a small entrance plaza which will be part of the entrance to the facility, and also a relocated bus stop. Towards the back of the building, this is the landscape that is going to help to screen and protect the exterior storage units. You can see there's a couple, right against the far left, there's a new solid wood fence which will go in to help visually screen, and that'll complete the existing fencing and hedge that's along that property line. We're also going to be infilling that existing parking area with new trees and landscape. Sorry, and the final component is the plan for the rain garden that you see there. So, thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Councillor Blair?
Thank you. Just a quick question, if I may. Referring to the rain garden, is that going to be on the established 3934 or just the three high container unit?
Well, the rain garden itself is actually towards the back of the property. Let me just go to...
Oh, sorry, I'm referring to the green roof.
Oh, the green roof.
My apologies.
Yes, it's going to be on the new entrance portion.
Just on that. So that's approximately 8 feet by...
They're 8 by 40.
So 8 by 40 feet. Is there any opportunity to do that on the main building?
It's an older structure, and it's pretty expensive to
Just checking.
do the structural upgrading required.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sanders?
Inquiry about the rain gardens, of course, then on the rear of the building. So have you considered the impacts of the creek that runs along there? Has that been taken part of it?
Yeah, we've been working with McElhaney Engineering and with the engineering departments to ensure that the design for the rain garden, and currently that rain garden is going to be treating all the water that is currently just falling on the parking lot. So we've been working with the McElhaney and the engineering department to ensure that we meet Saanich Schedule H requirements.
Okay, so you've taken the creek into consideration.
I have a question, if I may, Mr. Alders. A couple. First of all, the trees that you're planting in there on the parking spots, I see 4 of them on the top left-hand side. Is that the area that there is some complaints about cars parking too close to the fence?
Actually, no. We'll just go back to an overall site plan. Here it is. You can see down towards the bottom left, those are existing parking stalls. There's 19 of them that are within the required setback. But we're not touching them or doing anything in that area of the site. But where we are going to be moving them, there's 4 stalls that are up towards the north end, and that will be pulled back to away from the setback requirement.
And where you're putting the container storage in the corner there with the introduced trees, is that the area where there were some concerns about overheight storage?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so that will alleviate.
Exactly.
Okay. And then for the entranceway, the stacked containers, is there a use for the internal capacity of those, or are they, can you describe that, please?
They are, yes. So they'll be, just go back to the elevation here. The first 2 containers will actually have they'll be open within each other, and that is the entrance, the customer service and office area for the actual pro storage facility. The 3rd container above is not functional, but that's really just to try to work within complement the overall composition of the building.
And the last question, total number of storage units, is that?
There's a technical question for Jordan.
On the exterior,
Both, please, because you're going to put a 2nd floor in as well.
we're already doing the 2nd floor at the moment. In total, it'll be 540. Breaking out, I believe it's around 65 to 70 in the exterior, the remainder on the interior, which is being constructed right now.
So what was the total number?
540.
External and internal.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sanders?
Sorry, I forgot to ask one other question. What kind of public consultation was there with the community?
Jordan should probably answer that.
We've met with neighbors in the neighborhood as well as with the neighborhood association at the early stages of the application in the fall of 2014. We've continued to meet with members of the neighborhood subsequent to that.
So what kind of meetings were they? With small groups? Did you have a big meeting?
Smaller group meetings with representatives of the neighborhood association. Anybody who wanted to join from the neighborhood association, immediate neighbors were invited to meet with both myself and the the CEO of our company, my father, Lauren. And we've had a couple of those meetings in the last few weeks on site. We can take a look at existing issues that residents have and see how we can address them.
Okay, thank you. And then when you say inside and outside units, what do you mean by that? You've got these false doors. Is there some way these units are being accessed?
Yes, there's 2 access points to the interior facility, which is being constructed at the moment. There's a large overhead door that you access off the Quadra Street entrance, which is our main access point and entrance. And then you go into the building through a man door next to the overhead door, and then there's all the interior storage lockers. There's also a secondary access point, which is an existing access point and overhead door, again, and that one's on Holford Street, about a third of the way down. And we have, I believe, 2 parking stalls that are shown there on the drawing for that location. The exterior drive-up units, as we call them, they're very important to our business. They provide an alternative to an interior storage option. Somebody who maybe wants direct access without having to go into a building and walk down a corridor and go into an elevator. So for us, it's about the diversity of what we can offer the community.
And so where are those ones that you're trying to
The
direct
exterior
them to?
ones are located on the plan. Unfortunately, it's not on the screen now, but it's in the northwest corner of the property. Currently, that area is used for large vehicle and RV kind of parking and storage associated with our other tenants.
Okay, thank you.
No further questions? Then I'd like to ask the public for their input. Could you come up? I'd like to ask you for your name and your address. Thank you.
My name is Kathy Kess, and I live at 1030 Holford Street, and I presented a package to you earlier, which you probably have on your desks. I provided you in that package my full statement, but because I have 5 minutes and I'd like to request another 25 or 26 seconds, I will briefly summarize that package. I'd like to start with a summary of the past activities. For several years, I've been objecting to violations by Saanich bylaw number 8200 by the owners and tenants of 3934 Quadra Street. These objections had been largely unsuccessful, and an FIO request revealed that the bylaw enforcement officers had determined that there were no violations and no action to be taken. A neighborhood meeting was held with Jordan Milne, an officer in the applicant company, during which he outlined the company's proposal for the exterior storage units. Milne was later quoted as saying that he had met with the neighbors and they fully supported his proposal. This was not the case, as many of the owners of Strata 1769 were not satisfied with proposals for the southwest corner of the site. I believe that certain of the variances requested by this company should be refused. In addition, outstanding violations of the existing 2003 zoning bylaw should be addressed. The preamble to the 2003 zoning bylaw states, and you have it, I will not go over all of them because you have them with you, but it insists in having due regard for the value of the land and the nature of its present and prospective use and occupancy. 5, the character of each zone, the character of the buildings already erected and the particular suitability of the zone for specific use. And 6, the conservation of property values. I assert that the variances, which I will address, are in conflict with items 4, 5, and 6 when viewed from the perspective of the owners of Strata 1769. In terms of history, there's been a history of bylaw infractions. As I said, you have a copy of the bylaws, so I won't go over them. But section 5.12B, referring to refuse containers. Containers adjacent to the west end of the building have never been screened. The bylaw suggests that they have, or says that they have to be screened. Section 6.1, dealing with landscaping. If you'll take a look at photo 5 that I've provided in the package for you. Landscaping adjacent to the westerly lot line was cleared and graded. Section 6.5, landscaping and screening requirements for C, M, and MFC and CH zones. If you take a look at photo 1, which I took Saturday, no attempt has been made to provide an opaque landscape screen or fence along the west lot line. The applicant is offering 2 trees on the northwest corner of the lot. Section 9014 is unenclosed storage. If you look at photo 2, that will show that. Building materials have been stacked 4 meters high along the lot line and adjacent to the building. Section 2 of the bylaws deals with definitions, particularly natural grade. The natural grade has been altered by bulldozing sand against the lot line, which you can see in photos 3 and 4. Photo 4 was taken on Saturday, and you can see that the sand is bowing the chain link fence and affecting our plantings. The Director of Planning responded to the proposals, particularly proposal number 3, which was to reduce the minimum depth of a landscape area abutting a residential zone to 2.6 meters from 3.75 meters for the existing parking stalls 1 to 19 only. The response by the Director was that, quote, "The variance to reduce the landscape buffer reflects an existing condition and would only be applicable to 19 parking stalls in the southwest portion of the lot. These parking stalls are abutting a private roadway with existing vegetation along the property line and are not used as frequently as the parking areas located near Quadra Street entrance. Given that the variance is for an existing condition and the adjacent property is roadway and not private rear or side yards, the variance is supportable," unquote. I'd like to make a clarification. In the copy of the notice, the development permit amendment sent to the homeowners on November 4th, 2015, section 6.5D uses the word street as abutting the lot line. It is not a street. It is a private driveway owned by Strata 1769 with an easement granted to the Bearland Strata at Elsie Lane. The setbacks contained in the bylaw are designed to create a buffer zone between the activities in an M1 zone and the RS and RT zones. The fact that these setbacks have been ignored in the past is not a reason to grant a variance at this time. There are units in Strata 1769 which overlook the southwest corner of the site, and they should not be subjected to industrial activity merely to satisfy the applicant's request for a variance. The fact that there is no landscaping on the applicant's side of the lot line is due to the bulldozing of the previously existing landscaping, which was grass and weeds. The existing landscaping on the southwest portion of the property is due to the owners of the Strata 1769 and the Elsie Lane Bear Lane Strata cooperatively planting a laurel hedge along the fence line. For those reasons, I suggest 4 proposals. The application to reduce the setbacks from 3.75 meters to 2.6 meters along the entire west lot line be denied. B, the setbacks stipulated in zoning bylaw 8200 dated September 2003 be enforced. C, the area within the setback be landscaped and permanently maintained. And D, opaque landscape fencing be provided along the lot line where there is no existing natural vegetative barrier. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I did allow you to run over there because you were presenting for the strata versus an individual.
No, I'm presenting as an individual.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the next speaker.
Good evening, my name is Roger Harmston. I live at 1030 Halford Street. I'm also the president of the Strata Council, 1769. Earlier today, I submitted by email to all the council members a petition that's signed by 70 people. You had a room full of 70 people earlier, you've got a virtual 70. Thank you very much for hearing our concerns. A couple of things that I'd like to address. Earlier, the mayor made reference to safety and tranquility on their street. We've lost it. We've lost it big time. We cannot challenge the lease that the people that own the property have with one of their tenants, but the addition of opening another door partway up on Halton Street is going to create more traffic. That's unacceptable to us. I would like to speak to what Jordan mentioned. I was the one that mentioned to him that possibly we could talk to traffic people with regards to having no parking in a tollway zone. I tried to talk to the senior bylaw enforcement person, left a message last week. Unfortunately, he was away. Haven't heard back from him today. That's something we would very much like to talk to them about. And I would very much like to give the time to other people to address some of their own issues. Thank you very much. That's the vision.
Thank you. I'd like to call the next speaker, please.
Good evening, my name is Michael Goodwin. I'm at 3934 Elsie Lane. I'm speaking for other members of the small strata, which is directly behind the area of the exterior development changes. We write as members of strata VIS 4761, which is the residential property immediately abutting the area of the requested variance, to permit a structure to be sited 8.9 meters from the lot line abutting an RS zone where 12 meters is generally required. We strenuously object to this variance being granted. We note that throughout zoning bylaw 8200, that whenever commercial use for warehousing is contemplated next to residential property, as in the case of schedules 901, 910, and 920, which have either M1 or M2 zoning, that a 12-meter setback is standard. This distance has obviously been put in place to mitigate noise pollution and odors emanating from uses as diverse as the following: a lumber and building supply, unenclosed storage, beverage container depot, food processing, and industry. These are only some of the uses allowed in an M1 or M2 zoning. The report to council from Sharon Hovsdansky notes that although the proposed development does not achieve the long-term vision for the area, which is redevelopment as a mixed-use site for high-tech or light industrial land uses with residential dwellings or offices above, that this proposed development, in quotation marks, could be considered as a transitional use. We strenuously object to the part of the proposal which attempts to reduce the setback from the 12 meters required, even if the report had not identified the proposed use of this property as transitional. It is obvious from its varied and somewhat checkered historic use that this is the nature of the property itself and will continue to be for some time to come. There is no question that this is a transitional property which is yet to achieve the long-term vision for the area. However, transitions are generally precarious and unpredictable. While we wish every success with their business, there is no guarantee that Cold Storage Services can or will operate a financially successful, non-disruptive, and generally quiet facility on this property in perpetuity. There is only one thing in this situation which is certain, that once a foundation is established within 8.9 meters from our property, it will never be altered back to 12 meters. With this in mind, we have to seriously consider why such a foundation is necessary at all. We don't understand what significant purpose this additional 3.1 meters of land provides to the proposed project. What is clear, on the other hand, is that if this variance is approved, this land will be committed in perpetuity. Despite what Sharon Hosdansky somewhat glossily suggests in her report, poured concrete as a foundation is not an ephemeral or transitional material. Analyzing the site plan, we see no apparent reason why this structure must occupy precisely the amount of space that it does. With a minimal loss of 3 individual storage units, the footprint of this exterior structure could be shortened by 3.1 meters, more or less. It is impossible to believe that the economic success or failure of the project would be determined by such a small reduction. Whatever the truth of the situation is, we are being asked to weaken our rights to quiet enjoyment of our property. Our houses border an industrial area which has changed use numerous times in the past and which will continue to change. There is no guarantee that Pro Storage will be the owner of this adjacent property in 5 years, or that the storage facilities to be built as exterior units will not be leased, jointly or separately, to other operators in the future and or used for other purposes. As mentioned above, this small variance does not appear to be critical for the operation of a large interior or exterior self-storage facility, and unless such a compelling need can be demonstrated, we would be conceding future quiet enjoyment for no other purpose than the commercial gain of a third party. We repeat our request that the application for this variance be denied. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the next speaker, please. No, you're not invited yet. You have to wait.
Oh, I just wanted to make a clarification.
No, not yet. But I appreciate it, and we will come back to you with questions and clarifications. Thank you. Call in the second time for the next speaker.
Mayor and Council, Jim Gallagher and my wife